This page is the cover, obviously. You've got the big bold N64 Pro logo taking up most of the space, shouting about being the official, world's biggest N64 mag. Right up top it promises every game ever made inside. A bold claim, probably just hype, but hey, it was the N64 era, anything felt possible. There's also a little yellow splash promising a free mini-mag, 6 posters, 10-page buyer's guide. Sweet. The main artwork features some classic Looney Tunes characters, while Coyote is front and center looking a bit manic, with Daffy Duck perched on his shoulder looking surprised. Bugs Bunny is peeking in from the bottom left, looking as cool as ever. Marvin the Martian is over on the right, doing chorus choir. Well, whatever Marvin does with his little ray gun, they're highlighting a world exclusive on Looney Tunes Explosion, which sounds promising. There's also a section listing reviews or previews like Played to Death, covering FIFA 99, Nightmare Creatures, Micro Machines 64, Penny Racers, and Center Court Tennis. Right at the bottom you've got a surprise appearance from Kenny from South Park with the tagline, "Oh my god, we've killed Kenny, want his head?" Classic. And a big win banner, because who doesn't want to win stuff? Good stuff. Proper late 90s N64 vibe here. This page is packed. On the left you've got a massive list of games covered by their audio cheats and tips service, fronted by the lovable scamp Banjo from Banjo-Kazooie. They're offering help for over 600 N64 titles, which is pretty extensive, and they even throw in PSX and PC games for good measure, with a rather classic image of Lara Croft promoting that. There are phone numbers for the cheats and a competition line, where you could call in for a chance to win some seriously cool prizes like a color TV, PlayStation, N64, Dreamcast, and even a Metal Gear Solid console. Proper top-tier stuff back then. Over on the right, Marvin the Martian from the cover is having a bit of a moment, declaring his intention to blow up the planet because someone called Noalie apparently annoyed him. Charming. Below that, they introduce the lads, who seem to be the core team behind the magazine, giving little humorous bios for each of them. Finally, there's the 8 commandments of N64 Pro, laying out their promises to readers about honest reviews, tons of cheats, and being the most reader-interactive mag around. It's page 3, from March 1999. This N64 magazine spread is packed with freebies, including rare games, South Park carts, and a Zelda guide. The right page features a Turok 2 guide, regular sections like News and Cheat Zone, and a bizarre Silicon Valley sheep feature. The back page showcases reviews of Micro Machines, Turbo 64, FIFA 99 and more, with a focus on the Penny Racers review, a substantial cover story, Looney Tunes, section previews, 3 upcoming Infogrames games, promising a world-exclusive first look at Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and others. This page is absolutely bursting with news, kicking off with the Scoopster dog telling us how packed this month's section is. The big headline shouts, "Bond's back," hinting that Nintendo and Rare are finalizing a deal for the 19th Bond movie game, but here's the kicker. They reckon it might not even be for the N64, possibly for that rumored N2001 8-bit console instead. Blimey, imagine that. There's also a cool win competition where you can nab Rare releases for a year by giving ideas for the follow-up to Perfect Dark, mentioning Jet Force Gemini, Conker, and Banjo-Tooie among others they're working on. The Scratch and Sniff bit teases some upcoming titles, Duke Nukem 0 Hour, which looks like Duke's taking on Tomb Raider, the spooky Castlevania 64, and Beetle Adventure Racing. We also get the very first screenshot and a brief chat about Donkey Kong Country 64, calling it one of the most anticipated games. Quick mentions go to Micro Machines, Turbo 64 being reviewed, and a guide for Silicon Valley sheep being cracked open. We also has May. Finally, there are the charts showing the UK's top games, what people are playing most, and the most wanted titles, featuring classics like Zelda, Ocarina of Time and Banjo-Kazooie still hanging in there. And little Tweety is there to tease what's coming up over here on the next page. This page is absolutely packed with Looney Tunes. Goodness, the big feature, Name That Tune, dives deep into Infogrames nabbing the Warner Bros. License and finally starting to deliver the goods on 64. We're getting a look at 3 games, with a potential 4th, covering Space Race, Tasmanian Express, and Duck Dodgers. They reckon Duck Dodgers is a platformer with graphics that really nail the cartoon feel. There are screenshots from all 3 games scattered about, showing off the colourful worlds and characters like Taz racing around, or Duck Dodgers looking suitably heroic. The page also introduces some of the main players you'll encounter: Bugs Bunny, Carrot Thief, Wisecracking Wobbit, while Coyote, genius, fit bird obsession, Daffy Duck, avoiding hunters, feather-brained crackpot, and Tweety-Pie, perch-swinging, cat food avoidance, along with Sylvester the cat. Elsewhere on the page, we get a quick rundown of what else is inside this very issue. South Park giveaways, a review of FIFA 99, our little Ron's thoughts apparently, and a guide crack open for Turok 2, Seeds of Evil. Plus, there's a rather unsettling win, Kenny's Head competition where you have to decode a nonsense sentence using symbols and page numbers to prove you're a proper youth sleuth. Good grief, that's a bit morbid, even for Cartman's house. Looks like there's more Warner Bros. Stuff coming up too. The next page is absolutely rammed with more Looney Tunes nonsense, building on that Infogrames license. They're diving deeper into Space Race, introducing some more of the lunatic lineup. We've got Sylvester still suffering succotash, Marvin the Martian claiming planets and wanting to blow up Earth as you do, the Tasmanian Devil doing his spinning and growling bit, and Speedy Gonzales, the fastest mouse in Mexico. Daffy Duck pops up, complaining he's the only star, and Wile E. Coyote is explaining his patented plans, no doubt doomed to failure. The game itself, Space Race, is described as an arcade racer that's less about pure speed and more about the wild gags and the characters' reactions. You're chasing pieces of Marvin's modulator, which sounds daft but fun, and the pace is slower than your usual racer to let all the chows unfold. Porky Pig even shows up at the end to wrap things up with a classic phrase. Off to the side, there's a little section on Carpet Rodents, which is apparently a Rugrats game coming to the Game Boy Color, based on the movie. It sounds like a mix of platforming and racing. Looks like they reckon the graphics are surprisingly good for the handheld. This article previews upcoming video games, including Ubisoft's Monaco Grand Prix, March, aiming for a realistic racing experience. Footy games like ISS and FIFA, and Eido's World League Soccer, May, are also mentioned. The article also highlights 5 memorable Nintendo 64 moments, including Banjo-Kazooie, Zelda, and Mario 64. Finally, a competition to win a South Park cart and guidebook is announced. This page gives us a look at some upcoming N64 oddities. First up is Skittles in Space, or Milo's Astrolanes as it's properly known. Apparently it's the first 10-pin bowling game on the N64, but with a twist, aliens and power-ups. Sounds like it might be a bit silly, but hopefully, the bowling itself is decent. Next we have Rack 'em Up, which is VR pool. It's described as the world's greatest pub sport, and the main missing elements are the lager and the threat of a punch-up, which sounds about right for a decent game of pool, eh? The graphics look pretty sharp in the screenshots, and it's highlighted as being great for multiplayer. It even mentions a pesky gorilla stealing your 50p. Classic. There's also a section called Head Scoop Off at the Pass, which seems to be a little competition to find a character named Scoop, who's hiding somewhere in the reviews section. You have to fill out a form to enter, a bit of a treasure hunt within the magazine itself. Finally, a huge chunk of the page is dedicated to an advert for New Age Consoles, a retailer selling consoles and stacks of games, including imports, from both the PlayStation and N64 libraries. Scoop's gallery of games showcases a strong lineup of upcoming N64 titles. Highlights include Mario Party, a board game with over 50 minigames, and the anticipated Castlevania 64 and Shadowman, both spooky adventures. Gauntlet Legends, a 3D remake of the classic, and Jet Force Gemini, a potentially groundbreaking title from Rare, round out the collection. All games are slated for release throughout late 1999. A 1999 N64 release schedule promises a best year of your life. Must-buy titles include Micro Machines, 64 and Star Wars, Rogue Squadron. Forthcoming attractions include 12 Tales, Conker 64, Milo's Astrolanes, Castlevania 64, and Shadowman. The schedule also hints at the upcoming Smash Bros., described as a proper beat-em-up. Overall, the year 1999 for N64 looked incredibly promising. This article details the Software House Leagues, a ranking of publishers based on this month's magazine reviews. Despite a post-Christmas lull, Nintendo dominates the Premier League, while other publishers like Acclaim are vying for top spots in Division 1. Reviewer Ainsley Harriott rates games from heavenly casseroles to bowls of slop. The Hall of Fame showcases top performers like Nintendo, Star Wars, Rogue Squadron, and Top Gear Overdrive, with Acclaim's South Park and Bust-A-Move gaining attention. A reader's N64 Dream Team, featuring classic titles like Zelda 64 and Mario 64, is also featured, along with screenshots of various games like Zelda, Ocarina of Time and Star Wars: Rogue Squadron. The article provides a comprehensive look at the N64 scene, despite a slower month. This page is where the action truly kicks off, diving into the actual reviews. You've got the big hitters previewed up top: Micro Machines 64 Turbo, looking absolutely immense with those tiny cars and giant environments; FIFA 99, which was always a reliable footy fix even if it arrived a bit late; and Nightmare Creatures, a proper scary slash-em-up if ever there was one. Down below you get the full lineup of games being reviewed this month, including Penny Racers and Centre Court Tennis. The team of reviewers weigh in with their thoughts. Looks like Steve was busy skeeving, Mark loved the variety in Micro Machines 64, and Lewis was clearly hooked on FIFA 99. Then there's the scores, explaining the ranking system, including the coveted Sore Thumb Award for games so good you'd forget to stop playing. Finally, the lowdown breaks down how they review games, looking at everything from graphics, how shiny it looks, to gameplay and lastability. It even ties back to the software house leagues from the previous page. All the crucial info you need before splashing your cash. This page dives headfirst into the full review of Micro Machines Turbo 64. Blimey, just look at that splash image. Massive toy trucks dominating the page, making you feel like you're back playing on the kitchen floor. The headline nails it: Toy racing has taken over the office. Will we ever get any work done? Looks like Codemasters managed to recreate that classic, addictive Micro Machines magic on the N64. They've slapped a shiny Sore Thumb Award winner badge on it right away, so you know this one's a belter. The kind that makes you forget to blink, let alone work. The review kicks off describing the absolute mayhem of multiplayer races, mentioning specific chaotic moments like Steve hitting the cat, poor Moggy, and soaring over the ironing board. The text touches on the core concept: racing tiny cars across small tracks made from everyday objects, a nod to the brilliant original game on the SNES. It's clearly got the multiplayer focus sorted with the 4 joypads plugged in, proper couch coupe heaven. They call it the best version of Micro Machines ever made, which is high praise indeed. The screenshot gives you a glimpse of the action, showing a couple of cars navigating a track on a sand-colored surface, complete with props. It's clear this review is singing the game's praises. This page gives us a proper look at the motley crew of racers, the mini-maniacs, each with their own little personalities and speech bubbles. Bonnie, Walter, Spider, Jethro, Jade, Dwayne, Cherry and Chun are all here, looking ready for action. The review text continues, reinforcing how the game takes simple everyday items like cornflakes or a garden pond and turns them into incredibly detailed, bonkers racetracks. They talk about the top-down view being a core part of the challenge and the absolute necessity of learning the tracks, because apparently there are a whopping 48 of them across different environments. You could be racing powerboats on a pond one minute and dodging fireballs on a desk the next. The article also throws down a challenge to the best players, suggesting they crank the speed up to level 5 if they're feeling brave. There's a handy little guide to the N64 controller, showing you exactly which buttons make your tiny car jump or fire power-ups. And for us mere mortals, they highlight the Lilliput Learners section, which offers easier tracks perfect for getting a handle on the game, though you still need to watch out for those pesky tanks. The screenshots show off the range of tracks, from pool tables to scientific setups and messy food fights. Looks like Codemasters nailed the varied, miniature world perfectly. This page really delves into the nuts and bolts of Micro Machines Turbo 64, picking up right where the last left off. They talk about the sheer variety of vehicles you'll be bombing around in, from zippy sportsters and bulky trucks, to ferocious F1 cars, souped UP ice cream vans, complete with a jingle horn naturally, speedboats and hovercraft. A proper motley crew. The review highlights how fast the game is, promising thumb-burning action, just trying to keep your tiny car on the track in these bonkers miniature worlds. They call it sweet and simple, easy for newcomers to pick up, but deep enough to keep seasoned players hooked for ages. But the real star of the show, according to this page, is the multiplayer. Forget your split-screen nonsense. Micro Machines lets up to 8 of you crowd around the N64, potentially sharing joypads, for a proper manic battle. The reviewer even makes the bold claim that Micro Machines 64 is the best multiplayer game in existence. There are loads more screenshots showing off the inventive tracks, racing across sand on beached buggies, navigating a pond on pond life, dealing with messy food spills on the main course, and dodging treacle and bananas in the frankly terrifying breakfast bends. They even take you through a step-by-step guide of the breakfast bends track, showing you bouncing off cards, ironing boards, and dodging dogs and shoes. Proper chows. This page picks up right where we left off with Micro Machines Turbo 64, really hammering home why this game is an absolute riot. They talk about the frantic multiplayer action, where players get knocked out if they fall off screen. Brutal but brilliant. The review mentions the point system and the lovely tactic of just nudging your mates off the track, which Lewis apparently has down to a fine art. Single player gets a nod too, especially the challenging time trials, but it's clear the main event is the multiplayer chows with up to 8 people crammed around the N64. They maintain it's arguably the best multiplayer racer ever, and honestly it's hard to disagree. The page shows off some truly bonkers tracks, with sections like Amoeba Racing, where you get shrunk down and race inside a blobby blood vessel. Proper imaginative stuff. Then there's the difficult dwarves section, featuring tracks like Baguette Balance and Beware of the Dog, promising to seriously test your skills. Unsurprisingly, it bags a cracking 90%, with top marks for gameplay and lastability, boasting 48 tracks and tons of cars. The breakdown gives it a solid 7/10 for graphics and sound, acknowledging it might not be the prettiest, but the gameplay more than makes up for it. Lewis thinks knocking mates off ironing boards is brilliant, Steve reckons it's more fun than Alton Towers, and James sums it up as unsurpassed mini mayhem. High praise, and well deserved. This page dives headfirst into the N64 kickabout scene, with a review of FIFA 99. It's got a cracking illustration of a bloke in an Arsenal kit giving it large, complete with a speech bubble suggesting he's off to find a mag less obsessed with the pub and the bookies. It's even nabbed a Sore Thumb Award winner badge, which is always a good sign, isn't it? The big question, right off the bat, is whether EA's latest effort can finally convince N64 owners after past FIFAs haven't quite hit the mark, especially when compared to Konami's absolute mastery of the football sim. The review reckons FIFA 98 was just average, but hints that this 99 edition might just be the one that changes things. It talks about the gameplay making you feel anything but knackered cobs, suggesting it's got some real silky smooth ball control this time around. Down in the dugout section they touch on the team management side of things, which sounds decent. You can tinker with tactics mid-game, set up your formations, and even dabble in the transfer market. Fancy splashing out 12 grand on Zidane or snapping up Del Piero? Go on, you know you want to. They even give a shout out to the groundbreakers, highlighting the game's quality and tempting you to part with your pocket money. Looks like E1 might finally be putting up a fight on the N64 pitch. The next page carries on the footy review, getting stuck into the nitty-gritty of FIFA 99. There's a big old diagram showing you the N64 controller layout, so you know exactly which button does the slide tackle and which one's for the cheeky lob. Ndoku. The review dives into the art of attack, with screenshots showing the flow of play, like getting round the back of the defense and finishing things off. It boasts about the game's depth, from the sheer number of teams and leagues, apparently the biggest database yet seen on console, to the management options mentioned before. You can play full seasons, friendlies, or even dive into a golden goal competition where it's just a race to see who scores first, none of that messing about with time or half-time oranges. There's a cracking quote calling the gameplay the passing excellence of an 80s Liverpool, with the goal power of the modern Man United, which sounds like high praise indeed. It suggests the engine is improved so you're not hammering buttons like a madman just to kick the ball. Finally, they show off the changing room, highlighting the player editing options. You can apparently change things like hair color and facial hair, even giving players Latino tans or gorilla poses. Sounds bonkers, but hey, customization is key. The overall vibe is that 99 is a significant step up, perhaps finally delivering the FIFA experience N64 owners have been waiting for. The next page keeps the footy fever going, declaring FIFA 99 has a winning streak. Right off the bat, you're hit with some cracking screenshots showing the action, like York running at the defense and the keeper diving for a shot that's clearly destined for the back of the net. Yeah, they really big up the gameplay here, talking about the one-touch passing and an increasing array of tricks like back heels and bicycle kicks. Sounds like they've stuffed it full of ways to bamboozle your mates. Graphics get a shout out too, apparently so good you'd wonder where the Sky Sports logo had vanished. To high praise indeed. Though they note the commentary isn't quite up to the PlayStation standard, Mark Lawrenson's high-pitched Queenie squeals are apparently absent, which is a relief for Nintendo owners. The strip search section shows off the kit editing, following on from the player customization mentioned earlier. Looks like you can give teams some pretty wild makeovers if you fancy it. Finally, the breakdown gives it a stonking 93%, calling the animations total eye candy, the gameplay faster than Superman's eye fronts, whatever that means, and reckons the lastability means you'll be playing it forever. There's a quick nod to Konami's IS-SNE8 as the main competitor, and a few quick takes from other blokes in the office, mostly giving it the thumbs up, though one still prefers ISS. Seems like FIFA 99 is a proper treat on the N64. This page dives into the dark and gory world of nightmare creatures on the N64. The headline grabs you right away, promising something rather unpleasant. The review, penned by Newly, introduces the game as a scary, violent action title, arriving on the console after being a hit on PlayStation. Apparently, it's enough to shake even the most fearless members of the N64 Pro crew. The plot sounds proper bonkers. A secret society called the Brotherhood of Hecate has unleashed a virus turning folks into hideous monsters all over London. The reviewer quips that it's so sick and twisted it makes the Cray twins look like the Chuckle Bros, which gives you a good idea of the tone. Gameplay is described as a third-person action-adventure, similar to Tomb Raider, where you hack and slash your way through beast-filled streets and dungeons. You can play as either Ignatius or Nadia, each with their own weapons and fighting styles, focusing on combos and special attacks. The results of combat are highlighted as being particularly messy, leaving monsters in a bloody, quivering, messy pulp. Screenshots show the combat in action, along with some of the grotesque creatures you'll encounter. There's also a classic villain speech bubble, thrown in for good measure. Looks like a solid dose of gothic horror, for the N64. Nightmare Creatures receives a 79% score, deemed an entertaining, gory gothic horror action-adventure, focusing heavily on action. While its PlayStation origins show in some repetitive gameplay, the creature slaughtering and head-rolling action is well executed. Graphics are rated poorly, 5/10. Sound is spooky but lacking tunes, 7/10. And gameplay and replayability are decent, 7/10 each. The review includes tips on defeating bosses like the Hydra, and highlights character abilities. Alternative suggestions for fans of high kill count games are offered, like Turok 2. Overall, the game is a fun, bloody action game, but lacks depth and doesn't quite achieve classic status. This page dives into penny racers, asking, what's that all about? Turns out they're tiny racing toys you slot a coin into, and off they go, spinning and smashing about. The reviewer, Mark, seems impressed by the sheer number of cars available, suggesting it's more than the Ford factory car park. You can also design your own tracks, which sounds pretty good. The core of the game, described as penny power, seems to be the bonkers amount of customization. You can swap out engines, tires, suspension, and even weapons to mess up opponents. The really unique bit is the cannibalization system win a race, and you get to nick apart from the losing suckers. Lose, and you might find bits of your car mysteriously vanish. The idea of transforming a rubbish truck into a ferocious Ferrari is highlighted. There are screenshots showing the racing action, including bridge racing and avoiding obstacles. There's also a guide to the N64 controller mapping for the game's controls, and a cartoon image of tiny police cars exploding. The artwork features several stylized, chunky cartoon cars, showing the different types you can race. A review of Penny Racers focuses on the Making Tracks track editor, which allows for customization with various road types, hazards, and course layouts. The car customization, involving part scavenging from defeated racers, is praised for its variety. However, the graphics are criticized as lousy, and the racing gameplay is deemed somewhat uninspired compared to competitors. Despite these shortcomings, the extensive customization and track creation options offer significant replay value. The overall score is 73%, with longevity highlighted as the strongest aspect. The review strongly recommends alternative racing games like Mario Kart and F-Zero X, while acknowledging the game's quirky cartoon visuals and diverse custom cars. This page has a split personality. On the left, it's all business with a big advert from Gameplay, flogging N64 consoles, games like Zelda 64, GoldenEye, and Banjo-Kazooie, plus various accessories. Standard mail order fare, showing off their lowest prices and unbeatable service. But over on the right, things get prehistoric and a bit green. It's the start of a pull-out guide for the absolute beast that is Turok 2, Seeds of Evil. Labeled as a blagger's guide, it features a charming alien chap holding a rather large gun. The guide kicks off with Level 1, the Port of Adia, outlining the missions like activating distress beacons and rescuing children. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? It also lists the new enemies you'll encounter, including the delightfully named dinosaurs and raptoids, plus various other nasty things like entrails and compies. Handy stuff for navigating those famously dense levels. There's even a key to the maps showing symbols for teleports, keys, children, power cells, beacons, holes, and exits. Essential kit if you didn't want to get lost and eaten. Looks like this guide is just getting started, covering the basics for the first level of this absolute monster of a game. This Turok 2 guide details new weapons. The Talon, headshots on small foes, bow, hold Z for power, pistol, fast firing, tech bow, sniping, and shotgun. The Port of Adia walkthrough covers underwater sections, activating a distress beacon, locating a power cell, and dealing with explosive barrels. The guide details combat with Barney, a Raptoid, followed by more Raptoids. Players are shown how to find keys, navigate further areas, including the end-trail boss battle against a grenade-lobbing Dinosaur, and finally freeing a caged Turok. A helpful tip advises following life force pickups, like a yellow brick road, for navigation. This page dives deeper into the Turok 2 guide, picking up right where the previous one left off, now tackling Map 2, Seeds of Evil itself. You've got a clear map layout showing warps, and the level 2 key location, which is always handy, alongside a detailed text walkthrough. Ekage. It walks you through collecting ammo, navigating corridors, and dealing with the local fauna. Like an angry entrail, guarding a room with 4 doors, and then a Raptoid you unleash from a cage. There's a great highlighted tip. Don't waste precious ammo trying to kill the kid. We've tried it and it just doesn't work. Classic Turok logic right there. The guide then moves on to slicing up scavengers, compy dinosaurs, using the Talon, noting that they charge right into the blade if you spin properly. You find a switch, open a gateway, guarded by an entrail throwing grenades, and deal with a trio of compy scavengers feasting on a corpse. Lovely. The Ripextra tip is simple but crucial. Always hit switches, they open doors and gates. Ripix himself is dreaming of eating Tipex on toast and Turok steak, because apparently, he's got sophisticated tastes. Finally, it gets into dealing with ripping raptors, and following life force pickups, leading you towards the Gold Cross Health. Seems like Map 2 is a bit of a maze, with plenty of things wanting to eat you. The next page carries on with the Turok 2, Seeds of Evil guide, still firmly planted in Map 2, though it does tease Map 3 with a little visual aid showing you where the exit is. Visually, you're greeted by a massive shot of Turok's rather scarred back, looking all brooding and tough, complete with a speech bubble delivering a classic Turokism. I'd better tell my chick to cut her nails. Subtle, mate. Very subtle. The walkthrough itself picks up the pace, telling you to grab a shotgun, always a good idea, and then hit a save point, which is frankly essential in this game, trust me. You'll be dealing with the usual suspects, raptors and entrails, and there's a cracking quote about blowing up barrels to turn an entrail into just entrails. Lovely. It guides you through navigating flooded corridors, slicing up compy dinosaurs with the Talon. Apparently they just charge right into it, bless 'em. And even saving another caged child. There's also a bit about shipwrecking, which sounds like fun, essentially involving looting boats and using your pistol on hanging nets. Standard Turok fare: really kill everything, find the shiny things and try not to get eaten. The next page keeps the Turok 2 guide rolling, jumping straight into Map 4 and then onto Map 5. Map 4 here looks like a series of corridors and rooms, showing off locations for power cells, beacon switches, a save point, and crucially, child number 2, tucked away near a teleport that whisks you back to Map 2. The text walks you through navigating this area, grabbing goodies, popping barrels for pickups, and saving that kid. Apparently, getting enough kills nets you some lizard skin boots, which sounds unique. Then it's on to Map 5, a much larger, more complex layout featuring save points, teleports to other maps, including Map 6, a level 3 key, and the ultimate goal for this section, the Talisman Portal. The guide details battling raptors and entrails, standard fare by now, using the tech bow. There's a cracking line about how good it feels to put an explosive arrow in an enemy's neck from long range, and honestly, it is satisfying. You'll be hunting down Primogen keys and life forces to progress, culminating in the Leap of Faith Talisman Portal. There's a handy tip XTRA, reminding you to smash switches whenever you see them, because that's how doors and gates open. It's all about progression, killing everything in your path, and gathering those crucial items. This page continues the Turok 2 guide, dominated by a rather menacing-looking dinosaur front and center, complete with a speech bubble about his bad breath. We're diving into Map 6 and 7 here. Map 6 takes you through corridors and rooms, focusing on rescuing child number 3. You'll be battling more raptors and entrails. Apparently some of them play hide-and-seek behind boxes, which sounds utterly daft. The key seems to be hitting switches, often triggered by killing enemies, to open up new areas, ultimately leading you to the caged child. There's a lovely quote about putting your shotgun right in a raptured's face, which, let's be honest, is bloody brilliant. Then it's on to map 7, which opens up into a larger outdoor area with statues and pools, moving into courtyards and other structures. This section involves more switch hunting, finding life force, and even an archery practice range with targets. Eat your heart out, Robin Hood. You'll be blowing up crates for pickups and facing down those pesky entrails again, with a handy tip that killing them is crucial for opening doors. It's all about clearing the path, grabbing the goodies, and progressing through the level. This page carries on with that Turok 2 guide, jumping straight into map 8. Looks like we're still rescuing kids, with the text detailing how to get to child number 4. Naturally, it involves wading through hordes of rapshiods, raptors, and entrails, hitting switches, and using warps to get about. There's a lovely little snippet saying that seeing an entrail is a good time to waste him, which frankly, is just sound advice for Turok 2. You eventually find the child in a cage, which sounds like a right faff to get to, involving ropes and more enemies. There's also a little alien head saying, you know how big these levels are by now. Tell me about it, mate. Then it's on to map 9. More warping, more corridors, and yes, more enemies. You'll be hunting for the level 2 key and navigating tricky areas like catwalks over massive drops. Don't fall off, obviously. The guide mentions collecting blue crosses and, predictably, more entrails and rapshods to dispatch. The tip XTRA section pops up again, reinforcing the idea that killing certain enemies opens doors, which is handy to remember throughout the game. It finishes up describing the final push through corridors and more fights to reach the very end of the level. Looks like you've got your work cut out for you. The next page continues the Turok 2 guide, diving into map 10, Seeds of Evil. Right there, big as life, is Turok himself looking rather moody, telling anyone who thinks he looks like Bruce Springsteen that he'll kill him. Fair enough, mate. Wouldn't want to be mistaken for the boss when you're busy saving the universe. The guide kicks off, naturally, with more monster disposal. You're battling through corridors and catwalks, with the ever-present threat of raptoids and entrails. There's a particularly good bit telling you to just kill everything. Sound advice, really. You'll need to find keys, hit switches to open up new areas, and navigate some tricky platforming over huge chasms. It talks about using the shotgun for some splatter action, which is always satisfying, and navigating areas like a fountain courtyard and a building where you'll find a level 3 key. The guide mentions finding health and ammo, obviously vital when you're facing down hordes of critters. There's also a section teasing the devastating nuke weapon via a flesh portal, but apparently, you can't get it just yet. Looks like you'll need to return later for that bit of fun. Essentially, map 10 is another classic Turok affair. Lots of enemies, finding keys, hitting switches, and making your way through complex levels. Just another day at the office for Turok, eh? This page carries on with the Turok 2, Seeds of Evil cheat zone guide, picking up right where we left off in map 10. There are a couple of screenshots from the game showing Turok facing off against some rather unpleasant-looking reptilian types in jungle-like environments. The guide continues detailing how to navigate the map, telling you to head toward the exit area past bridges and a fountain. It mentions finding a nuke weapon piece if you're feeling brave enough to take on the beasties, and advises stocking up on shotgun ammo for some satisfying slaughter. You're directed to find switches hidden behind doors to progress, eventually leading you toward the level exit by hitting a final switch. There's even a handy tip XTRA about those annoying compy enemies, suggesting you can lure them away from their meal spots to give yourself a breather. Beyond the guide, there are several adverts for game retailers and import shops, selling various consoles, games, and accessories from the era, like N64, PlayStation, and Game Boy titles. There are also production credits for the magazine content and legal disclaimers. This page slams into a review of Center Court Tennis, a game that clearly tickled the reviewer's funny bone. Right at the top, it's heralded as madder than McEnroe chucking a Wimbledon wobbler, which sets the tone nicely. You've got some vibrant anime-style characters gracing the page alongside screenshots of the game in action. Looks like a proper tennis match, albeit with perhaps a touch more character than usual. The big headline screams, a racket, a ball, and a hat full of options. Fault? No love, it's game, set, and match to madcap action. Oh, I say, which tells you everything you need to know. Lots to do, lots of fun. The review dives into the various modes and customization options, suggesting you can create some truly unique characters and deck them out in bizarre gear, which is always a laugh. The core gameplay gets a big thumbs up, praised for its addictive nature, and the importance of timing shots rather than just button mashing. It's clearly won over the reviewer, netting a cracking 90% score. They even suggest you might need rehab after playing it, which is high praise indeed. The breakdown section backs this up with solid scores across graphics, gameplay, and lastability. There's even a little section suggesting all-star tennis as an alternative. Overall, it paints a picture of a highly enjoyable and slightly bonkers tennis sim. Right then, let's get stuck into some rally knowledge on this page. It's part of the cheat zone, promising some top-secret info, and looks like tips the alien chap has nipped back from Infogrames, with some crucial intelligence on getting around the track. The bulk of the page is dedicated to mastering the driving techniques in rally, breaking down the types of cars you'll encounter. There's a good explanation of kit cars, which are front-wheel drive and tend to understeer, and world rally cars, the proper four-wheel drive beasts that are turbocharged, and the kings of the dirt. They go into detail on understeer, when the car doesn't want to turn into the corner, and oversteer, when the back end wants to overtake the front, explaining what causes them and how to try and correct them. Essential reading if you don't want to spend half the race facing the wrong way, I'd say. Down at the bottom you've got little map previews of some specific stages: Alps, Corsica, England and Indonesia, with a few tactical pointers for each. Handy little nuggets of info for tackling those tricky circuits. Overall, it's a solid guide to understanding how the cars handle and giving you a leg up on the competition. This rally guide dives deep into optimal driving techniques. Braking, crucial for rally, is emphasized, including handbrake use for controlled spins. Steering sensitivity is adjustable, and tire choices are automatic based on surface. Drifting techniques, like opposite lock slide, are detailed, along with gear ratio adjustments for acceleration or top speed. Transmission type, manual or automatic, is discussed, recommending automatic for beginners. Suspension settings, hard, medium, soft, are explained for different track surfaces. Finally, the guide provides stage-specific minimaps and tips for Indonesia, Safari, Spain, and multiple Swedish and New Zealand stages. This page jumps straight into the thick of it with a guide for the final battle in Body Harvest, specifically the Siberia stages. It's all about wrapping up this quirky action-adventure game. First up, Siberia Stage 1 kicks off in a snowy village infested with zombies. You can't just blast away. You need a combine harvester apparently. You're hunting for train keys to find the fat controller, yes really, and get this train moving. But hold your horses, you've got to chase down a runaway train loaded with Zomsky gas, using a nearby tank to destroy a blockade and stop it from turning a town into zombies. Along the way, aliens beam down naturally, because that's just how things go in this game. Payu. Then, Siberia Stage 2 throws Adam into an icy landscape with icebergs and more aliens. You explore a valley, land a hovercraft at a village under attack, and head to a research base. There, you find a heat gun to take down a massive ice alien boss. After dispatching that frosty beast, you're back in the hovercraft, heading to a power station. The guide tells you to mess with pumping stations to flood the reactor area before it blows up. Handy tip: use a bulldozer to smash the reactor for maximum effect. It's a whirlwind tour of the final showdown. Body Harvest's final stages in Siberia involve perilous helicopter missions, aquatic combat, and a radio ham rescue. Players then navigate an alien comet level, fighting off various aliens and Black Adam, culminating in a confrontation with the Green Brains Guardian and the final boss, Black Adam. The game concludes with the player defeating Black Adam and saving the world. Agree. This page dives headfirst into the cheat zone with a guide for that utterly bonkers Silicon Valley game. Blimey, what a weird one that was. First up, it covers the Europe level, detailing how to round up those sheep, deal with the dogs, and keep an eye out for evil bunnies. Classic stuff, right? It walks you through the objectives like herding sheep into pens and transforming into different animals, like the wheeled mouse, using a numbered map, and step-by-step instructions. There's even a mention of a dog racing challenge and hunting for bonus balls and souvenirs. It sounds just as chow-paetic as you remember. Then we get into Honeymoon Lagoon, under the rather intriguing title Cracked Open. Here, you're tasked with activating various switches on a big machine, finding sheep, and apparently killing them to become one standard procedure, and navigating tricky platforms that turn off. The guide mentions starting as a mouse, tackling a steep hill with your boost, and collecting rings. It sounds like another level filled with the game's signature bizarre challenges and transformations. There are some great screenshots showing off the levels, from a rustic European setting to a more aquatic area, plus shots of the strange characters and vehicles you get to control, like that sheep with the enormous eyes and the biplane thing with goggles. Proper mind-bending stuff from the N64 era. The cheat zone in Silicon Valley continues with two more levels, Battery Farm and rocky hard place. Battery farm tasks players as a mouse, climbing, jumping and transforming into a sheep to evade a ram and dog, using rockets and switches to overcome obstacles. Rocky hard place puts players as a fox, navigating electric fences, springs, and floating asteroids while transforming into sheep. Both levels feature collecting bonus items, using teleporters, and manipulating gravity, all mapped out for easier navigation. The levels are visually distinct, showcasing a unique art style with the signature purple bunny. This page dives back into the cheat zone for Silicon Valley, guiding you through a couple more tricky levels. First up is Fat Bear Mountain, where you start as a mouse. You'll need help dealing with the angry dog and the fat bear. Seems dogs and rams don't get along, so you can apparently sick them on each other. There's a souvenir puzzle to solve by getting the ram to chase a sheep, and you can even use the dog as a ram at some point? Odd, but okay. Finish up by using sheep and floating blocks to reach the teleporter. Then there's the engine room, where you're a fox trying to swipe the professor's keycard. You'll need to manipulate bears and a dog to get it. Transforming into a rat lets you destroy computers, because reasons, and collect a glass block. The guide even mentions going back through a tunnel, as the dog sounds like a proper fetch quest. After flipping a switch to get a bridge going, you'll face rats, rolling balls, and those pesky bears at the security door. Defeat the bear, navigate a minefield as a rat, lovely, and finally use a floating bridge to hit the teleporter. Oh, and apparently this shepherd disguise does nothing for street cred, according to the slightly miffed-looking alien with a sheep. Fair enough. Lots of shape-shifting and animal wrangling required here, it seems. The Silicon Valley walkthrough continues in the cheat zone. Players first transform into a dog, then a rat, navigating tunnels and retrieving a keycard from a professor. Rat-on-rat combat against the Rat King is detailed, along with the use of bonus balls and a teleporter. The next section, Rat-O-Matic, involves the Rat King, shape-shifting and activating mechanisms using a mouse form. Destroying generators and using a rat to drop mines are key steps. A returning alien character, also pictured with a sheep, promises a sequel next month. This cheat zone page provides cheat codes for various N64 games. Turok 2's Beware Oblivionize Hand code unlocks everything, while Extreme GXG2 cheats include transforming into vehicles and altering visuals. South Park 64 features codes like Bobbybird and Screw You Guys, along with bonus character passwords. Body Harvest cheats involve button combinations for special effects and power-ups. The page also includes an N64 controller diagram and reviews game guides, including titles like Silicon Valley and Nightmare Creatures. The next page dives into the Fountain of Knowledge, claiming Zelda's got more secrets than all the spy agencies combined, which, looking at that slightly dodgy alien Link character, seems plausible. It's a central hub for getting the absolute most out of Hyrule. First up, there are some handy codes for Space Station, Silicon Valley if you're into that bizarre animal swapping caper, listing cheats for infinite health, and various levels, essential for messing about without a care in the world. Then, the real meat, a load of cracking tips for The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. We're talking about making Epona faster with that essential rumble pack, navigating the lengthy mask trading sequence, finding those pesky gold sculptures for rewards, locating the great fairies for magical spells, and boosting your carrying capacity. It even mentions getting items as both young and adult Link. Don't forget the classic shooting gallery and tracking down Deku nuts and sticks. There's a great big Goron chap here too, looking absolutely ripped, basically telling you to hit the gym if you're a wimp. Brilliant. Warrington no. Finally, if you've got your own secrets to share, there's the TipX helpline details, and a mention of an Yorkine £20 winner, who clearly knows their stuff. A treasure trove of cheats and tips this page, mainly focused on the undisputed king of N64 adventuring. This page is all about laying down the gauntlet and finding Britain's absolute best gamers. It's the Britain's Top Gamers section, where dedication is key, and they want your high scores and times, plus a photo naturally, to see the faces behind the legends. You've got leaderboards here, covering a heap of classics. We're talking Mario Kart 64, with times on tracks like Donkey Kong Parkway and Frappe Snowland, the slopes of 1080 degrees snowboarding and snowboard kids, plus times for F1 World Grand Prix. They've also got scores and times for the brilliant Banjo-Kazooie and Diddy Kong racing spread across various levels. But the real challenge is the Pro Arena, where the N64 Pro team sets the bar. Noelle wants you to beat her time racing Epona in Zelda. Ocarina of Time, tying in nicely with all those tips we just saw. Mark's got a GoldenEye challenge on the Arkhangelsk facility. Steve's daring you on Smash Bros. James wants a quick time in Wipeout 64. Tipex has a 1080 degrees run, and Scoop is laying down a Banjo-Kazooie challenge. They even want you to send in your own challenges for others. No only one Smash Bros. Finally, there's the How to Enter guide, basically telling you to fill out the form, send proof of your score, handy tip for getting a screenshot off the TV included, and a picture of your beaming face. Looks like they've already got a few champs featured with their photos scattered across the page. This page is the fabled swap shop, the one-stop shop for offloading your old tat and picking up something new. If you've got games gathering dust or you're desperate for a particular title, this is where you connect with other N64 enthusiasts. They've got a clear idea of what's hot and what's not, with the wanted and not wanted lists. Everyone's begging for GoldenEye, F-Zero X, Banjo-Kazooie, Mission Impossible, and 5-1080. Meanwhile, ISS-64, Mission Impossible again, clearly some quality control issues there. GoldenEye, confusingly, Diddy Kong Racing, and Wave Race seem to be the games people are trying to get rid of. Bit harsh on Wave Race, that's a solid racer. You've got readers offering up all sorts of trades and sales here. There's someone wanting to swap Lilat Wars for Clay Fighter, or Wave Race in the swap of the month, which sounds interesting. And the Blag of the Month winner somehow managed to get Mortal Kombat Trilogy for Banjo-Kazooie, claiming Minkei's box was needed for the swap. Cheeky sod. Loads of offers cover classics like GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, ISS-64, and plenty of racing and sports titles. It's a proper marketplace for finding those missing gems or getting a few quid for games you're done with. There's even a handy form at the bottom if you want to get your own swaps listed. Good stuff, keeps the N64 community buzzing. This page is a goldmine for anyone who missed out or wants to complete their collection. On the left, it's all about scoring back issues of the magazine. You can grab previous issues for a cool £4 each, covering everything from early days with Snowboard Kids and Forsaken, right through to later stunners like Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and South Park 64. They list the cover game and some key contents, and there's a handy form to fill in to get your order sorted. Get 'em while stocks last, apparently. Then over on the right, they're pushing the Pro Crew. Honestly, using Wile-E. Coyote with pound signs in his eyes as the mascot is brilliant. It's the magazine's official club, promising a boatload of benefits if you join up. You'll get the magazine cheaper, plus exclusive freebies, a fanzine, secret insider details on games, extra cheats, and members-only competitions. You can sign up using various payment methods, like check, postal order, or card, or even set up a direct debit. They lay out the costs for a year's membership depending on whether you're in the UK, Europe, or further afield. Sounds like the place to be if you're serious about your N64. This page kicks off with the You Reckon letters page, where the team dishes out replies to the fans. It's got a cool graphic with a character holding some tech, a confused-looking sheep, and the big blue title. The editor character, looking rather pleased with himself, asks if it's his favorite time of the month already, getting letters from readers. First up is Pigeon Street, a lad who went on a proper mission to get an N64, finally succeeded, only for the magazine's review of MI to trigger him buying the game. Bit of a rollercoaster for him by the sounds of it. Then there's Chuckle Brother, defending the mighty N64 against those slow-loading PSX games. He even throws in a joke which, frankly, raised a chuckle. Big Girl's Blouse writes in, praising Zelda 64 to the absolute heavens, calling it the best game ever. He's also hyped for Castlevania 64 and Shadowman, which is fair enough. Those are looking rather tasty. We've got Christmas Cock-Up, who had a bit of a mare buying NHL 99, only to get NFL Quarterback Club instead. Easy mistake, right? Happens to the best of us. Finally, Girly-Haired Freak comments on the editor's hair and asks for more game advice, suggesting readers deserve rewards. The team gives their usual insightful, slightly cheeky replies, complete with screenshots of games like Mission Impossible and NHL, plus that rather fetching South Park fella illustrating one letter. Good stuff all around. This page features reader letters and the new Reader's Reviews section. Simon Lewis criticizes the team's early access to games and questions game costs. Reader reviews praise classic titles like Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time and GoldenEye 007, highlighting aspects like graphics and gameplay. Banjo-Kazooie receives similar enthusiastic praise. A N64 Pro needs you segment encourages reader participation in game reviews, with a prize for a winning submission. This page kicks off the N64 Pro Database Buyer's Guide, promising to cover every game ever made. It starts by explaining the review format, using the legendary GoldenEye 007 as the shining example, highlighting its Sore Thumb Award win and high score. A game we all knew and loved back then, didn't we? The main focus here is the shooting section, showcasing a mix of absolute classics and, well, others. GoldenEye 007 rightfully sits at the top with a massive 96%. There's a great picture of Kenny from South Park next to the game's review, which came in as a new entry at a solid 92%. Fellow new entry Star Wars, Rogue Squadron also scores 92%, described as exactly what the N64 was built for. Other notable shooters like Turok 2, another sore thumb winner at 94%, Forsaken, 90%, and Quake 64, 85%, get a look in, alongside Robotron 64 and Duke Nukem. Then you have games that perhaps didn't quite set the world alight, like the Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, or the rather dull-sounding Knife Edge. It's a comprehensive snapshot of the shooters on the console at the time, giving you the lowdown on the best and the rest. The N64 Buyer's Guide continues with racing games, showcasing classics like F1 World Grand Prix, 94%, and 1080 Degrees Snowboarding, 93%. Diddy Kong Racing, Mario Kart 64, F-Zero X and Rally, Edition 99 also receive high scores, 90 to 91%. Other notable titles include Extreme G and XG2, the Rush series, and SSE.ARS. However, games like Automobili Lamborghini and the Cruisin' games received lower marks due to bland graphics and gameplay. The N64 boasted strong racing titles, particularly in arcade and kart categories, alongside some decent simulations. The next page dives into a rather mixed bag of N64 titles across three genres: fighting, puzzle, and platform. First up, the fighting games. And honestly, it seems this wasn't the N64's strongest suit. While Mortal Kombat 4 managed a respectable 85%, and Fighter's Destiny did okay, there are some absolute shockers in here. Just look at Mortal Kombat Mythologies, and Clay Fighter scraping the bottom of the barrel. Sounds like a genuinely painful experience. Even Mortal Kombat Trilogy didn't impress. Rakuga Kid sounds utterly bizarre, letting you transform into washing machines and the like. It's a rough crowd, with many titles getting pretty low scores. Thankfully, the puzzle section offers some redemption. Buster Move 2 and 3 are here, promising bubbly fun. Weetrix and Space Station. Silicon Valley both earned sore thumb awards and high praise, sounding like genuinely innovative and enjoyable experiences. Silicon Valley sounds particularly odd in the best way, controlling bizarre animals. Tetrisphere sounds a bit dull compared to the original Tetris, but at least it looks nice. Finally, the platform section brings a clear champion. Banjo-Kazooie is hailed as a masterpiece, sheer genius that rivals even Super Mario 64, earning a massive 96% and a sore thumb award. Bomberman 64, however, sounds like a disappointment, especially its multiplayer. There's also some cracking artwork of Banjo-like characters and gears, alongside a peculiar comment about a plumber in bunny ears. This review covers various N64 games, highlighting some platformers like Bomberman Hero and Chameleon Twist, which had mixed reception. However, Mischief Makers and Starshot, Space Circus are praised for their unique appeal. Super Mario 64 is lauded as a classic. Sports games receive strong praise, with IS-98, All-Star Baseball, and Madden earning top marks. While some basketball games are criticized, others like Kobe Bryant are well regarded. Overall, the review showcases a diverse range of N64 titles, with strong emphasis on sports games and a few platformers. This page is absolutely crammed with reviews and rankings, a proper buyer's guide spread. On the left we've got the sports games covered. Seems like the NHL Breakaway follow-up, 99, didn't exactly set the world alight, scoring significantly less than the original just because they didn't bother changing anything. Bless 'em. There's also some golf and Wayne Gretzky slinging pucks around. The middle proudly displays the RPG/adventure banner, highlighting Holy Magic Century as a new entry, and giving a cracking 92% to Mission Impossible. Quite the spy adventure that was. Flipping over to the right, we hit the Hall of Fame, listing the creme de la creme. Zelda 64 sits deservedly at the top with a stunning 98%. Truly a masterpiece. You've got IS-98, GoldenEye, and Banjo-Kazooie up there too, along with Mario 64, proving those earlier reviews were spot on. Pilotwings 64 gets a well-earned mention as a sore thumb award winner, while poor old Rampage World Tour is relegated to the Fool and the Gang section with a miserable score, probably for the best that. The miscellaneous section rounds things off with a load of other titles, including Air Borders, and a glance at some Japanese imports, which actually scored quite highly. Then there's the rest of the random bunch, everything from Jeopardy to Pokemon, which apparently didn't even get a score, as the Japanese text was too much hassle. Some gems, some absolute stinkers. This page is certainly a mixed bag, blending exciting previews with a heavy dose of retail therapy. Kicking off on the left, we've got Duke Nukem's 0 Hour, taking center stage, hyping up his big return next month. Looks like they're promising the lowdown on his latest and hopefully greatest adventure. Can't wait for a bit of Duke action. Then we've got a look at some other bits and bobs. All-Star Tennis is previewed, signaling that summer's fast approaching. Rayman 2 gets the blueprint treatment, suggesting it's one to watch for 1999. There's also a review of Beetle Adventure Racing, which they're calling the strangest damn game we've ever seen. Sounds like my kinda crazy. The Cheat Zone gives us a peek at Space Station, Silicon Valley Part 2, promising more sheep-chasing antics. The rest of the page is absolutely dominated by the Join the Club section from Special Reserve. It's basically a massive mail-order shopfront listing tons of N64 games, consoles and accessories, offering discounts and free gifts for joining their club. There are prices galore, deals on Game Boy Color, RAM packs and even a whole section comparing deals and offering 0% finance. Quite the shopping guide for anyone looking to expand their N64 collection. Down the bottom left you can see the full list of the team who put the magazine together. This page is all about getting down and dirty with some serious rally action and trying to get you to sign up for something too. On the left we've got a big spread for Rally 99, proudly stating it's only on Nintendo 64. It looks like they're pushing the realism angle, showing a muddy wheel and the console planted firmly in the dirt. The game itself promises official 1998 WRC cars, tackling 48 tracks across 8 countries, with all the fun of erratic weather and punishing night stages. Sounds properly challenging, just how rally should be. The screenshots show the cars battling it out in various locales, and the quotes sing its praises, calling it a fantastic racing game and a pure adrenaline rush. Apparently, you can't beat it. Then, over on the right, there's an ad for the Pro Crew. Looks like a membership club, offering a bunch of benefits for just £1.54 a bargain, eh? They're promising cheaper magazine issues, a flashy card, monthly fanzines, exclusive insider info and cheats, always handy, competitions, and even top-secret info on the team, all fronted by a rather snazzy-looking alien mascot. Seems like a decent deal, if you're keen on staying plugged into the N64 scene and getting a few extra goodies.